Hey guys, Hollow1 here. Welcome back to another video, and today I've got another engine that isn't mine and needs repair. This is my friend's third rail New Haven FL9, and it's got some issues with the pickup rollers that I'm going to be fixing today. Okay, so I'll flip this thing over and it should be pretty obvious the issue we're having here. This is the fix for it. As you can see, he's just got a wire run from the rear pickup rollers, which work, to the front pickup roller, which does not. So my goal is to remove this wire by fixing whatever connection is blown up inside of the locomotive here. Just quick glance at the bottom of it, it looks like all the solder joints to the pickup rollers are fine, which means that the issue is going to be in the shell. So let's get started by taking that off. Changing my order of operations here real quick. I'm going to do a continuity check just to make sure I've got the diagnosis right. Now, if I remove this wire, yep, no pickup on the front. Okay. So I've never worked on a third rail locomotive before, and I don't work on a whole lot of diesels. Usually, of all the engines I've got in my fleet, usually the steam is the one that gives me issues. But it seems like in any scale, and by any manufacturer, if they make an FL9, it's always got issues. I've heard some horror stories about the I think they're Athearn FL9s, and their drivetrains are terrible, even though they're incredibly similar to like the typical F7 drivetrain. This one apparently is also, it's a similar story. It's got a very similar drivetrain to the rest of third rail's models, but something about the staggered trucks on the FL9s just seems to invoke all sorts of issues with the drivetrain working. Also, if you're wondering why the FL9s have staggered trucks, I'm sure the internet would probably be more accurate than me, but if I remember correctly, it's because these were dual mode engines. So these were intended to not only operate on diesel power, because, you know, they're an F unit, but they could also operate on third rail power so that they could run, I think, like into New York City, or like into Penn Station, which wasn't allowing anything other than electrics because fumes and tunnels. So that's hence the FL9. Definitely an interesting locomotive. So I'm missing a screw there. Anyway, let's get this, see if I can figure out how to get this shell off here. I'm just assuming that the big screws are the ones that hold the shell on. Alright, I might have to start taking smaller screws out. I have to say, the first thing that threw me for a loop on this model was the fixed pilot. It looks really nice, but usually the pilot covers the front screw that holds the shell on. And because this engine doesn't have a swinging front pilot, it doesn't cover the screw. It's just, it's mounted straight to the frame, which is really nice. Pretty sure I just shoved that screw into the shell. Okay. And these little... That is heavy. Oh, it's got some weights in it. Okay, there's my drivetrain. So I can take off side plates. I think I was just overcomplicating it. Okay. Alrighty. What do we got? Sunset. Yep. Yeah. Hey, it's got a smoke unit. Cool. Alright. Let me dig into this a little bit, see what I can see. So, interestingly, but not really surprisingly, I'm pretty sure this is just an electric railroad cruise commander. Like, that's just what it is. And then it's got the old electric railroad powered motherboard with the rail sounds card on it. I'm not liking the fact that this moves around this much. So I'm going to take this mount off and tighten down this screw. And then I'm going to start tracing out all of these wires. I had to unhook some stuff just to get it so that the chassis would sit upright. But I'm going to start tracing this out and making sure that I do have a good solder connection between the front pickup and wherever that wire is in here. Alright, so here's what I've got. The front pickup roller actually is the one with a good electrical contact. The rear pickup rollers, while they do make an electrical connection from the pickup roller to the board, I'm reading a resistance of 430 kiloohms, which you can't see because of the glare from my light, but that's a lot. It should be next to zero. So I'm not entirely sure what's causing that. So now I gotta take a whole bunch of stuff out so that I can trace out these wires a little bit better and see if they go into something or if a solder joint's broken. I'm guessing a solder joint's broken. That's what my friend was telling me. So I gotta find it. But yeah, so let's start pulling stuff out here. Alright, so a couple things. First of all, the grills on the side here are actually the antenna. Secondly, I think I found the problem. This wire is a little frayed, and between that opening, which I can touch with the leads on my multimeter, to this, there is no problem. Got minimal resistance. But from there to the pickup rollers, I'm having a ton of resistance. So I'm guessing that this wire is broken internally somewhere, and it just needs to be replaced. So I'm going to dig through my stash and see what I can find, and see if I can swap this wire out. Alright, so here's what I did. From here to the shrink wrap is the original wire. It's a solid copper wire, and it did not want to hold solder. Holy cow, I had to get the wire hot enough that the wire itself could melt the solder, and that was the only way that it would kind of stick. Ridiculous. But anyway, this is done now. I'm going to do some pull tests on it here, make sure it actually lasts. I did a continuity check, and it's good. So now I just got to run this back through the frame and connect it up to these pickup rollers. Which there are two of, and they connect to these little lug things. I'm going to see if I can find it here. They connect up to these guys. It's just this little teeny tiny thing. Gets screwed through the middle, and then the wire solders onto the side here. So, going to get these reattached, and then we'll do another check, and that should, in theory, do it for this engine. By the way, here's the condition of the original wire. Really not great, so that's fun. Alright, so I did a continuity test, and all of the pickup rollers are now connected. There's no major resistance between any of them. There's a new wire going to the rear two pickups. Right now, I have the rollers set up because of the way Third Rail does their pickups. The only pickup roller that is currently touching the center rail is on the rear truck. The pickup roller on the front truck is free hanging. So, sure. There's a switch up top underneath this cover here that has a couple of settings. There's run program, sure, and then there's TMCC off and conventional. Now I would assume conventional does conventional things and TMCC does TMCC things, but I'm not entirely sure what off does. So it's in the off position right now. Theoretically, I'm guessing I'm going to power this up and nothing's going to happen. Oh, I was wrong. Things are happening. Maybe it's a rail sound switch. Man, that sound system does not really sound great. There's a lot of pinched and folded wires in this engine. It's also set to engine 1. Sounds good. Once it's actually making sounds. Well, that's wrong. It's got an air whistle on the front of it. That's not an air whistle. Sure, whatever. Good enough, I guess. Alright, let's see if I can get it to move here. Answer is, it did not like that very much. I'm going to take a guess and say it's because the wheels are pushing the wires. The wires are run weird in the trucks. They're run directly past the drive shaft and in some instances touching the drive shaft. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but that's the way they did it. And I'm going to guess that the drive shaft is pulling the wires up, and that's moving the pickup roller and taking it off my roller. So ideally I want good solid power pickup on every pickup roller. So I'm going to take a look at it and see if I can fix that. Alright, let's see what we get this time. I'm curious as to what the crew talk sounds like. Yeah, just generic.
This is the yard master. All clear ahead.
Anyway, let's see if it moves. Hey, there we go. It's rolling. You can't see it because it's a diesel, but it's moving. This thing is geared really low, which is weird for a passenger locomotive. Alright, let's try it in reverse. Oh, glad I tried. That did not like that very much. Well, now that it's going, it's going. I'm wondering, it might just be my pickup roller. Alright. Well, I would say that that is fixed. So there you have it. That was my relatively quick repair of this New Haven FL9. Yeah, it was a pretty simple fix. I think finding the problem honestly took longer than actually fixing it, minus the time it took to solder, because soldering is a pain in the neck, especially when you're dealing with solid copper wire from whenever this was made. But anyway, a lot of fun. It was a good practice for troubleshooting because I don't deal with internally broken wires very often. So it definitely wasn't my go-to for the failure mode, but that's what it ended up being. So glad this is back and running. I'm going to throw it back in the box and give it back to my friend. He's going to run it on his really nice New Haven layout. And yeah, I hope you all enjoyed. I hope you all learned something. If you got any questions, feel free to drop a comment. If you got any criticisms of what I did here, also drop a comment and go ahead and yell at me. I'm open to all sorts of feedback. So anyway, hope you all enjoyed. I am CW Hollow One, and have a good day, or maybe good night in your case. See ya.